Hello, my darlings. I hope you're doing very, very well. I hope you are sitting comfortably, you are cozy, and you have your snacks and your beverages at the ready. In today's video, we'll be discussing another tattoo product that is new to the market, and I have been sent content of this new tattoo product many a times. I've been tagged in stuff on TikTok and on Instagram, been sent videos. I've even had Tom's sister send me a video and was like, what's going on with this? So here I am to do my favorite thing of all time, which is to deep dive into new tattoo products and see if they are a gimmick or if they're actually helpful to us as clients and tattoo artists. Obviously, I have to stress I'm not a tattoo artist, so I can't exactly speak for tattoo artists and how they would feel, but I feel like I might have a gist on how some tattoo artists will feel about this and how some others may feel about this. Okay, so what we're going to be looking into today is a new tattoo stencil. Now, normally tattoo artists use stencil paper. They will print the tattoo design onto the stencil using a thermal printer. They will use stuff like stencil stuff to be able to do the transfer onto a client's skin. Now, sometimes a tattoo artist or a client isn't happy with the placement, so what they have to do is basically scrub the stencil off and basically start again, which can be kind of time consuming, but most professionals have got this process down to a T, so it doesn't take too long. And honestly, it's better to get the stencil in the right place because once that tattoo has started, it's kind of hard to go back. So it's best to get the stencil in the right place, right? There's also tattoo artists that do freehand tattoos as well, where they basically draw the design onto you, but that is obviously not relevant to this video because we're talking about stencils. Tattoo artists have been using stencil paper for a very, 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 very long time. And honestly, the only complaints I've ever seen tattoo artists make is about the printers, because printers are devils. You know, like no matter what industry you work in, I'm sure if you use printers all the time, you know printers are very, very unreliable. They only work when they feel like working, which big mood. However, this new tattoo business called Standstill have created a brand new way of doing tattoo stencils. They've essentially made a see-through plastic stencil film that you can move all over the place.
Client wants the stencil moved? Oh no. You shall struggle no more. A brand new stencil method is out. Standstill. Reposition? No problem. No reprinting and no staining. It's a medical grade film made of PVA, a water-soluble material used in medical applications and foods worldwide. And just like that, straight to tattooing. Standstill. Happy client, happy artist. This is a clear stencil you can tattoo through. Standstill. A brand new stencil method. The ingredients are 100% safe. Water-soluble film, hypoallergenic adhesive spray, and standard inkjet ink is free of toxic additives. Once placed, the stencil is disinfected, ensuring cleanliness and even more flexibility. It's completely water-soluble. And now, ready for shading. Standstill is flexible, transparent, and not staining. Become an even greater artist. Use Standstill Transfer Film. Combines trusted medical-grade materials for more efficient tattooing process. You can print your stencil with a standard inkjet printer. Place it with medical adhesive spray. It's transparent, so no more guesswork. And on top of that, it is repositionable. And once activated with disinfectant spray, the film becomes even more flexible. The tattooing process is smooth.
all seems very, very interesting. Some parts of it I can definitely see benefits, and other parts I'm like, ooh, is this a really a good thing? So we're going to take a big old deep dive into the whole business and what Standstill have been saying, because there has been a lot of, not so much pushback, but there's been a lot of questions about the product, and sometimes they don't get their story straight. First of all, let's take a look at the website. It says, welcome to Standstill, introducing a new procedure of transferring your concept to the skin. The Standstill transfer concept was invented to offer new options in positioning and transferring complex designs to the body. The procedure is innovative, more precise, and quicker than the common used materials, which would be stencil paper. That's why Standstill is patent protected and listed in the German Engineering Utility Model Register. During the 1-year test phase with a number of professional tattoo artists in their daily routine, Standstill has proven its numerous advantages. Develop your positioning skills finally to the level of your great tattooing quality. Exact, clean, and precise. Standstill is organic and biodegradable, eco-friendly, sustainable, vegan, medically certified, and hypoallergenic. First of all, it is going to be incredibly rich coming from me, someone that can barely speak English, which is my native language. I'm seeing a few grammar errors here and spelling mistakes. And that's coming from me, okay? Someone that wouldn't normally notice stuff like this ever, right? And for like a professional website, that's my first red flag. I'm just going to say it. That's my first red flag. Like, this is meant to be a good representation of your business, right? And if someone like me, who barely ever notices errors, can notice the errors. Okay. Anyway, that's not really important right now. It says it's biodegradable, vegan, and made in Germany. And then it carries on saying the advantages of Standstill transfer film. Standstill is based on medical technology, which means it is neutral to the body and skin. Standstill transfer film is transparent and flexible, so you can use it easily and stressless for exact positioning, especially on uneven and movable body parts. It's perfect to use. Standstill transfer film is removable and able to be repositioned without leaving marks or color to the skin. Can represent the high concept in high definition, from thin lines over full illustrated portraits to high complex pattern. No blurry images or fuzzy lines anymore. Enables the stressless process of installing I can't read now. Big concepts to the body, because you can fix layer to layer, one after the other, to the skin. Ultra flexible, which stops the concept from crumbling while folding it onto the body. Concept was invented, tested, and daily used by tattooers with 15+ years experience. Is highly sustainable and eco-friendly by producing zero waste. Concept safes. Here we go again. Concept saves you time, maybe. Concept saves you time, material, and reduces the stress and fragility from the moment of positioning. It opens you new areas of illustrations projected to the skin. So that basically just hypes their product up and just tells you, you know, what's the benefits to using this. On their website, there is a huge FAQ, which I totally respect. It kind of answers all the questions that you all may be having and that I had when I was doing my research. How does the application process work? Print your design using an inkjet printer. Make sure to mirror the image. We recommend inserting single sheets into the printer rather than a stack. Apply Standstill adhesive spray generously to clean dry skin. Place the stencil on the skin and adjust if needed. Activate the film with disinfectant spray to make it more flexible. Tattoo directly through the film for lining. Dab excess ink. Don't wipe. Use regular ointment like Vaseline. To remove, wet paper towel with green soap, distilled water mixture. Place it over the film and soak it for 5 seconds, then gently wipe away. Apply a skin oil if skin feels sticky. What type of printer and ink do I need? You need a standard inkjet printer using original ink cartridges. These inks are REACH compliant and classified as safe for skin contact by regulatory, big word for me, commissions similar to skin markers. Thermal or laser printers will not work with Standstill as they require heat, which can damage the film. Bonus tip, the backing paper can be reused as regular printing paper, making the process even more eco-friendly, which is handy. You know, you can never have too much printer paper, right? It always goes missing. Have you ever noticed that? Well, you go through it far too quickly, so a little bit extra helps, right? So that basically gives you a little bit of context on how to use this transfer film situation and what printer you need. So you don't use the regular printers that tattoo artists use to do stencils, the thermal printers. You need like an everyday regular inkjet printer that you might even have at home. Most tattoo studios do have these types of printers anyway, because they have to print out stencils to get a perfect size. So sometimes a tattoo artist will print out 3 different sizes of one design so they can figure out which size works best with the placement that they're going to be tattooing, especially if you have a lot of tattoos already and you're doing a gap filler. It can take a little bit of work to figure out the right size of tattoo to do. So then you're obviously not wasting your regular tattoo stencil paper because they're kind of expensive. You don't want to be, you know, guessing the size and wasting all your transfer paper. You may as well just use an A4 regular bit of paper to figure out what size you want and what have you. So most tattoo studios do have normal inkjet printers. I don't know why I'm doing this. Anyway, back to the Standstill transfer film. The first time I saw content on this, when I first started getting tagged in it and sent it, and I didn't really have too much context as to what it is and what it's made out of and all of that. All I saw was this see-through plastic being put on someone's skin and someone tattooing through it, and I was just like, that looks like a terrible idea. Like, what do you mean you're going to be stabbing a bunch of plastic into someone's skin? Like, that cannot be safe at all, right? And like, of course, us as humans consume a lot of microplastic anyway, is in so many things nowadays. We cannot avoid it by any means. But like, does that really mean I want to have it stabbed into my skin as well as consuming it? Like, I felt very, very icky about the whole situation. So when I was doing a bit more deep diving into this to see what it's made out of and if it's safe, I obviously come across a few things in their FAQ and I was just like, interesting. Is the process safe? Yes, Standstill is safe and approved for tattooing. The process is patented, and during the patent process, the material's medical compatibility for tattooing was thoroughly evaluated. The material itself is not new. It is made from PVA, polymeric alcohol, a medical grade material that is certified for medical use and commonly found in surgical applications, eye drops, and even food products. Since it's water soluble, it dissolves completely and leaves no residue in the skin or body. What material is Standstill transfer film? The material we use for the transfer film is a medical grade form of polymeric alcohol, PVA, which is already used in foods and surgical applications, for example, to stop small bleedings in surgery. This material dissolves in the body because it's water soluble. Standstill is also organic, biodegradable, eco-friendly, sustainable, vegan, medically certified, non-allergenic, and made in Germany. Standstill even have a TikTok of them dissolving this tattoo film in water. Now, the fact that this tattoo film from Standstill is water soluble leads to a little bit of a problem, if you think about it, right? If you've been tattooed a few times, you may see where this is going. What do tattoo artists do when things get a little bit messy? They'll wipe you down with a wet or damp paper towel, right? Like, nobody likes a dry wipe. Nobody. That sucks. It hurts. It's so irritating. A really wet wipe is literally like heaven. It is just like the most refreshing feeling ever. So for them to be like, so this is water soluble, so obviously if you use water, you're gonna run into some problems, aren't you? Yikes. Can I use ointments like Vaseline or Inkies while tattooing? Yes, Standstill remains stable during lining. Even when using ointments like Vaseline or Inkies, just make sure to dab instead of wipe to avoid smudging. How long does the stencil last on the skin? The stencil stays intact throughout the entire lining process since it's water soluble. Excessive moisture or wiping can start to dissolve it, but if you dab instead of wipe, it remains stable. Okay, cool, right. There was this comment on one of their TikToks that says, and how are you supposed to wipe excess ink away without using water? Just dab, don't wipe. You still have to use water. We are using it over a year now in our studio. You don't need water while tattooing outlines. I can see it working for lining, but not for realism portraits. So you dry wipe your clients. Like, you're telling on yourself here, people, okay? I personally feel like using the Standstill transfer film would be incredibly difficult for a lot of tattoo artists to get used to, considering the majority of them do wipe a lot. Sure, some tattoo artists do a dab, some tattoo artists do a dab and a wipe, and some tattoo artists just fully wipe. As you can see, the design from the Standstill transfer film wipes off pretty easy in comparison to a regular tattoo stencil that a tattoo artist uses stencil paper for, with the regular like purple or red ink, whichever they use, or blue, depending on the stencil paper, obviously. But with regular stencils, it does take a bit of oomph to remove. But with this, a little bit of water and it kind of just already evaporates, and that's just going to be so incredibly difficult for a tattoo artist to work with, especially if they're used to using water a lot throughout the tattooing process. So a tattoo artist is going to have to contend with doing minimal wet wipes to remove excess ink or blood and mess, you know, from using Vaseline. Getting tattooed is a very messy process. I'm sure if you've been tattooed before, you know it can get kind of messy. And obviously if you're not allowed to use water, well, that's just going to add a lot of stress into the whole process, and it's going to be incredibly frustrating for a tattoo artist. I'm sure there could be a technique to it that would take a little while to perfect for a tattoo artist willing to use this transfer film. But I feel like tattoo artists have a lot on their plate already, and mastering a new way of doing a stencil, I don't know if that's high on their priority list. You know, obviously I can't speak for all tattoo artists, but I feel like a lot of them are already under a lot of stress, and, you know, perfecting a new stencil process, I don't know if it's going to be a big priority for them unless they see a lot of benefits with this tattoo film. So of course, me being me, I wanted to look a little bit further into what this PVA stuff is, so I did a little Google here. Polyvinyl is one of the main produced water-soluble polymers. Polyvinyl alcohol is generally considered safe and used in a wide plethora of industrial applications. Other investigations about both toxicity and ecotoxicity of polyvinyl alcohol are urgently needed. And that's the thing that made me go, oh, right, okay, so it might not be as safe as we think it is, or there hasn't been enough research on it, or like what is going on here. So again, I went digging some more. Anyway, there is obviously a lot of information about PVA on this science website. I tried to look into it, I tried to read it. It was just a little bit too sciencey for my tiny little brain to comprehend. Okay, so I went looking elsewhere. Okay, like, I'm sorry science nerds, but it just wasn't going into my brain by any means. So I was just like, there's got to be somewhere that has info about this that's a little bit more easier for me to digest, and anyone else that isn't, you know, into the science world that's going to be watching this. You know, I don't want to be using big long fancy words and you're all like, what are you talking about? You know, because same, bestie, same. So I come across this Plastic Pollution Coalition website, and it says PVA plastic, what you need to know. PVA has been produced industrially since the 1930s and is used for a wide variety of applications, including fibers for construction supplies, fishing gear, paper making, cosmetics, industrial sprays, paints and sealants, textile, clothing, sizing, packaging materials, food additives, pharmaceutical and medical products, and quite commonly film-coated detergent pods and sheets. So you may know of something called a Tide Pod, or in the UK we have like Ariel and Fairy, and you basically have these little plastic pods that you put into the washing machine. This tattoo transfer is made of the same plastic as washing detergent pods, which is kind of fascinating. So if you have some at home, go and have a little feel of them and what have you, because then it will be the same kind of texture, I'd imagine, as this transfer. In light of our petition, corporations that make and sell PVA products have doubled down on asserting their material is safe and suggesting there is a debate over the safety of PVA, but in reality, enough evidence exists to merit further investigation of the impacts of PVA on human and ecological health. So yeah, there's a lot of information here. I'll try and get through it as quickly as possible, but I feel like it's really important for us to know like what this stuff is, and the fact that there is now a tattoo product using this and essentially stabbing it into people's skin. And again, like I said, we all consume microplastics every day. So is it a big deal at the end of the day? I don't know. It's up to you. You figure it out once we've read through this. Okay. Conflicting information about PVA exists today for two key reasons. Corporations use greenwashing as a marketing tactic to sell potentially harmful products that we might not otherwise buy. Example with Standstill saying it's ecological, it's biodegradable, it's vegan, it's safe, and all of that, right? Greenwashing, have control of scientific environment in which they both shape commonly accepted information and are largely protected from scientific and regulatory scrutiny. Many high visible scientific studies that appear favorable of PVA, especially those demonstrating apparent degradability, are commonly commissioned by plastic and related industry trade groups seeking to sell PVA. Many cleaning products made with PVA are marketed as eco-friendly because they appear to readily dissolve in water, seemingly bypassing issues of toxicity and persistence that other plastics face. Such favorable research findings help corporations sell more PVA products and receive passes from the US, EPA, FDA, and other regulatory agencies tasked with protecting human and environmental health. A lack of unbiased information, poor chemical regulatory environment, and corporations' drive for profits prevent us from getting a clear picture of what PVA is and what it actually does to the environment and our health. And because it is everywhere, we deserve to know the truth, which I agree. Even with decades of research, there is currently no definitive proof that PVA is truly biodegradable. In fact, research on the textile industry in particular, a major consumer of PVA, which is used to size or coat and protect woven fibers during manufacturing, suggests that PVA plastic does not degrade. Even in water, it is commonly found in textile wastewater, and due to these concerns, should be replaced in this application with more benign alternatives. Pure PVA doesn't easily break apart and must be diluted by degradable plant starches and proteins to even appear to dissolve. Think about what happens when you mix salt with water. Just because you can't see it, all the tiny grains of salt in the water as they dissolve doesn't mean the salt doesn't still exist. PVA films like those used in dishwasher and laundry pods and sheets are designed to be similarly soluble in water. PVA can be treated in a way by running its main ingredient polyvinyl acetate through a process called hydrolysis. Could you imagine if I read the whole scientific thing? We'd be here all day. That makes it bonded. Particles break apart more easily and appear to dissolve in water instead of remaining whole, visible, and separate from water. The EPA currently lists PVA on its safer choice and safer chemical ingredients list, but a close look at research on PVA and the EPA's generous criteria for safe standards show that PVA is not verifiably nor consistently biodegradable. According to EPA standards, if 60% of substance has degraded into carbon dioxide and water in 28 days, it passes its OECD 301 standard and can be called readily biodegradable, even though it is not necessarily clear what happens to the remaining mass and chemistry of the substance when it's diluted with water. In this case, PVA, the research recently cited by the American Cleaning Institute, shows a wide range of performance when it comes to PVA's supposed degradation in water only. However, a close look reveals flaws in the study ACL cites. It is industry-driven, small in size, brief in duration, and lastly, does not actually define what it means by biodegradable. As other research indicates, PVA is not actually biodegradable by the common definition of the word. PVA, while synthetic and made of fossil fuels, is commonly mixed with degradable additives such as plant starches and proteins, or even nano-sized clays and metals. That's kind of scary, isn't it? The presence of these other substances and particles helps cleave apart intact PVA plastic, helping it seem to disappear when it makes contact with water. PVA films like detergent pods and sheets are especially prone to causing pollution because they are discharged directly into your home's wastewater system. From there, polluted water is sent back into the ground through your septic cesspool or sewer system, and in this case usually to a sewage treatment plant. Because tiny plastic particles are extremely hard to capture, water could thereby remain polluted by PVA and other plastics even after treatment, endangering endangering our planet's waterways and our health. Oh, yikes, right? According to the EPA and corporations and industries that make and sell PVA, this plastic is currently labelled as safe, largely due to its apparent biodegradability. Yet there is a serious lack of unbiased, dedicated research on the human environmental health effects of PVA. Health-related research on PVA has almost exclusively been conducted on non-human animals, such as rodents and dogs, by PVA producers. What little research has been done on humans shows concerning links to inflammation and irritation, especially when PVA exposure occurs over a prolonged period. Despite clearly missing data on PVA's short-term and long-term human health and environmental effects, makers of this material advise on their own safety information sheets that their employers avoid breathing it in, touching, consuming, and otherwise coming into contact with PVA. With PVA detected in human breast milk, it appears this plastic has the potential to accumulate in the environment, or at least in human bodies, where it could cause adverse health effects. Bioaccumulation of PVA has also been observed in carpfish over a short-term period. To prevent potential harm, much more research must be done to understand PVA's full range of effects on people, other animals, and the environment. What's more, PVA and all other plastics are oh my god, here we go. I feel like I'm about to do a run and jump. No, what's that thing when you jump over like a hurdle situation with the pole? When I see words like this, I'm just like, oh god, here we go. Disproportionately, nearly did it. Disproportionately good as it's gonna get. Produced in facilities intentionally placed in underserved, low-income, rural, and Black, Indigenous, people of colour communities. This intentional poisoning of specific communities results in widespread health and environmental injustices, which the EPA has recently agreed to double down on. Allowing for continued production of all plastics, including PVA, undermines the EPA's initiative to seriously address injustice in the US. Producers of plastic release large quantities of greenhouse gases during manufacturing, in addition to toxic chemicals known to cause human health problems. PVA production releases potent methanol gas and often butyrylguide. I'm so sorry. PVA can be combined with this chemical to make polyvinyl butyryl, another type of plastic in the same facilities as PVA. So from all of that, I'm sure we have gathered that PVA isn't as good as it is advertised as. Long story short, okay, there's this whole like greenwashing thing. So basically companies like Standstill, because they're using this PVA, basically greenwash it and say, oh, it's fine, you know, it dissolves in water, it's not a big deal, don't worry about it. And it's kind of worrying and it's kind of scary, right? I found this very interesting image from a business called Blueland, who basically do 100% plastic-free tablets for a powerful clean. So they're basically cleaning tablets. I think you can use them maybe in your washing machine, and then you can use, laundry detergent tablets and toilet bowl cleaner tablets. They do a lot of cleaning stuff that doesn't involve plastic, which is great, fantastic. This isn't sponsored or anything like that. I just come across this, okay? But it's good to know. I'm honestly kind of intrigued. But yeah, on their website, they basically show how bad PVA is. This is obviously in America, but the majority of my audience is from America. And I know Standstill is a German-based business, but still, it's PVA related. Okay, so let's just focus on that, okay? So metric tons of PVA used and degraded in US wastewater, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It goes everywhere. It's everywhere. Like I was saying, you know, we as humans consume a lot of microplastics. Anyway, moving back to the tattoo film from Standstill. Standstill are very, very adamant that what this isn't plastic. It says on their Instagram, Standstill is not plastic. It's made from high quality synthetic material, polymeric alcohol. This material is originally designed for medical and surgical applications and is completely safe for tattooing. And then of course we've got the, you know, greenwashing going on down there, the biodegradable stuff, right? Now, of course, like me, there are many other people very concerned about the fact that there would be tattoo artists essentially stabbing in these tiny little bits of plastic, or plastic in their eyes, okay, plastic, because like, yeah, is that even safe while you're doing a tattoo to have, you know, this stabbed into you? So I obviously come across a few comments on their TikToks that are very, very interesting. So this one comment says, straight to tattooing. Are we sure we aren't missing the part where you dissolve the plastic, or are you gonna just tattoo the plastic into them? Standstill said, guys, take 15 seconds of your time and read the description. It's not plastic. Okay. Sure, whatever helps business, right? Wouldn't that mean you tattoo that plastic wrap into the skin? No, it's not plastic. The film is biodegradable and water soluble. Tattoo over the plastic so you get tiny plastic pieces in the wound. It's not plastic, it is completely water soluble. What's the effects of PVA being injected into your skin? No effects, it dissolves completely. I'm still worried about safety of tattooing through film. It is completely safe. He just said it's not plastic, dog. Okay, not plastic exactly, but you are gonna get particles or whatever it is made of in the skin. The particles will dissolve completely. But all of this defensiveness is so silly to me, because what we've read shows that the dissolvable, not plastic, ends up in our water systems, in breast milk. It ends up in places, it builds up eventually, right? Another question that a few people have is, how is this going to affect tattoo machines? Obviously, if you're continuously tattooing through this plastic, there will eventually be a build-up. Even if it is biodegradable, eventually there'll be a build-up of little particles throughout the tattoo needle. It may eventually travel up into the machine. It may break the machine. Like, and tattoo machines are not cheap. The good ones are not cheap, right? Like, is it worth the risk? So someone asked, I would love something like this that you don't have to tattoo through, something transparent, flexible, and can be adjusted. The film splits upon contact with the needle, so very little comes in. You tattoo right over the film. Wouldn't this clog the needle and mess up ink flow? You also created a barrier when using tattoo ointment, which helps soothe the skin during the process. The film splits upon needle contact, so it won't clog or block ink flow. You can use Vaseline normally. Wood pieces of the film go into the needle and cause build-up. It's ultra thin, it builds up rarely. So which is it? The film splits upon needle contact, so it won't clog or block ink flow, or is it, it's ultra thin, it builds up rarely? Rarely to me means there is still a chance of it happening. Like, they don't get their story straight. Now, Standstill have advised that you do not use this for anything other than line work, because if you were to go in there and do shading, you're going to obviously rip up all the film and what have you. You basically use Standstill for an outline. Can I shade or colour over Standstill transfer film? Standstill is designed primarily for lining and fine details. Since the film is water soluble, it won't hold up under heavy shading or colour packing. After completing the outline, simply dissolve the film with green soap and distilled water to continue shading. Does the film clog up the cartridge? No, it's water soluble and you dip your needle in water regularly. Why would we dip our needle in water? That is how nearly everybody is tattooing. How are you cleaning the needle in between colours? Now, again, not a tattoo artist, but I've been tattooed many times. It is incredibly rare to see a tattoo artist put their needle in water while they're doing their outlines, because they're not changing the colour. They're just sticking with the black. They'll dip into the black ink, do the outline. The only time you'll see a tattoo artist dip their needle into water is when they are changing the ink colours. You don't change colours while using Standstill, because again, you're just doing the outline. Unless you are obviously doing a bunch of outlines in different colours, which how many tattoo artists do that at the end of the day? Most outlines are done with black, right? So it's just like... this whole thing is very sketchy to me. And this tattoo artist even said, you just keep saying it's for lines and for dot work. What if you only do black? If I only do black lines, I never dip in water. Sorry for my lack of 10 years of experience, which is so true. Like, what is going on here? I think it's overkill. I feel like your skin needs to breathe, as it can swell from tattooing. Ink might get trapped under the film when wiping also. I'd like to see some reviews from the pros. We are pros. Tattoo artist myself of 15+ years experience and owner of a tattoo studio. Check out Locomotive Tattoos. It's obviously your product. You should stand behind it. But someone who has no involvement and gains nothing, not discrediting your experience in any way. So this is the Instagram, this is the person behind Standstill, Again, he says that he has 15 years experience. His name is Philip, and his work is good. Like, he is a good tattoo artist. There is absolutely no doubting that whatsoever. But he says that there's been people trying this, like tattoo artists. I guess maybe his friends have been trying it, but for the most part, I think it's been him. I don't think he's sent this out to a wide variety of tattoo artists for them to try, which would have helped him a lot when it comes to, you know, promotion and people talking about this product. I feel like he's kind of kept it to himself and thought, I'm going to try and make as much profit off of this as possible. There is so many Instagram and TikToks of this product, and they all get a lot of views and, you know, feedback from people. Like, people are actually watching it. They're not like bot views or comments or anything like that. Like, the reach for this product has been incredible. Like, the marketing and everything, fantastic. They've done well with that. This guy here, Philip, right? The majority of the TikToks are from him. The majority of the content about this brand and business are from him. I feel like this would have gone down a lot better if he had a lot more people trying it and testing it and saying, hey, yeah, actually, this is really great. But the minute there's just one person, there is just one person, which is Philip, who is behind all of this, which to me is a little bit of a red flag, because it's just like, why don't you like send this out to a bunch of really popular tattoo artists, get them to try it on social media, and then people might actually take it a little bit more seriously. But to me, I feel like the Standstill business is basically banking on how many people are going to buy this. They're trying to get as much money as they most possibly can. Instead of sending it out for free and getting tattoo artists to try it, they want tattoo artists to buy it. It says on their website, was Standstill tested by tattoo artists? Absolutely. The Standstill concept was invented, tested, and is used daily by tattoo artists with over 15 years experience, which again, that's Philip. That's Philip. Like, where, like, to me, if they had a list of the tattoo artists that have been using this, like their Instagram handles or videos of them using it, I would trust it more. But to me personally, the only person I can see using this right now is Philip. So whatever. I have not seen a single artist review this yet because it's not out on the market yet. First batch is shipping out next week. So again, they're just banking on people buying this instead of, you know, actually testing it out through a big portion of different tattoo artists, which to me is a bit of a yikes. Like, obviously they need to make money, and obviously sending stuff out for free is not going to get you that money, but in the long term it may, because all of these tattoo artists are going to be trying it out on social media. Maybe if they like it, they'll be hyping it up, and then obviously their followers would see it, and then they would just make more money in return. But yeah, it's up to you how you feel about, you know, businesses sending out free products. But when it comes to something like this, where I would trust it more if more tattoo artists had used it personally, I don't know, I just feel a bit weird. Obviously, as we know, there would be a learning curve to using this, and a lot of people do first impression videos. And obviously when you first use a product like this, it's going to be, again, a learning curve. So there'd be a lot of videos on social media of people being like, what the hell do I do with this thing? Which isn't good for business, and therefore people wouldn't buy it. So I can see why they haven't sent it out, because it could harm them. Anyway, what's the biggest RL you can use for it, which is basically a needle size, 9 RL, but you can of course experiment with the needles. Wait, seriously? There's limits to needle size groupings. You'll need to experiment. We made it for lining and dot work. So they haven't themselves tried it with an array of needle sizes, which is, again, a little bit of a red flag coming from professional tattoo artists. And again, if they had sent it out to a lot more tattoo artists that use bigger needle sizes, they would figure out that it would or would not work, right? But I can imagine the bigger needle size you use, the more likely it is for this film to split and cause a lot of problems. Personally, it seems cool in theory, but I, for some reason, am weary and will not be trying this. It doesn't seem like it would work well. We are working with it for over a year now, which I've already mentioned, but the fact that they've only been testing this for a year, I don't know. Like I say, you need to adapt a bit, but it is definitely a game changer and an essential add-on in our daily work, which of course they're going to say that because it's, you know, their business. On their website it says, can I buy a smaller test kit or sample before committing to a full set? As a startup, it's challenging to offer multiple sizes right now. Currently we offer the ready to go package, which includes 50 sheets of the tattoo film and the special adhesive spray. However, we're working on offering smaller test kits in the future, stay tuned, but also we are confident that as soon as you try it, you won't go back. What makes Standstill better than regular stencil paper? While regular stencil paper is cheaper up front, Standstill offers greater precision, stability, and time-saving benefits. It's perfect for complex designs, large-scale concepts, and ensures your stencil stays intact throughout the entire lining process. In the long run, saving time and reducing errors adds incredible value. So this is their pre-order ready-to-go package. It's 50 units of Standstill transfer film and 1 Standstill adhesive skin fixation. Right now, we're in the production phase and preparing for full availability, so shipping may take till end of March, early April, which filming this today, it's the 12th of April, so hopefully these have actually started to be sent out at least by now. If there are tattoo artists out there that have bought these, it'll be interesting to see a variation of tattoo artists on social media trying to use this. I feel like we're going to be in for some funny content, you know, of them trying to figure out how to use this. It may even just be very, very straightforward, but again, with the whole you can't really get this wet situation, that's going to be funny to see how tattoo artists kind of accommodate to that. For these 50 units of transfer film and the spray, it is 99 euros. 99 euros. At the time of filming this, when I converted this into British pounds, it is £84.15, and in dollars it is 108.50. That's a lot of money. How many tattoo artists watching this right now, or people that use transfer paper, how much is your eyes watering at this price? Because that is very expensive for just 50 sheets. The thing that irks me a little bit about this is the fact that you can't buy these two things separately. So if you run out of the transfer paper, well, you can't, you know, just buy that by itself. You have to buy the whole kit. And if you run out of the adhesive spray, well, you can't just buy that separately. You have to buy the whole kit, which could be very, very annoying and cost a lot of money when you just want the one thing. So that's kind of weird that they don't sell it separately. There's also no ingredients listed anywhere for this adhesive spray. There are a lot of people out there that have allergies to adhesives. I found these comments on a TikTok video that says, well, I'm allergic to all adhesives, so I cannot use this. How's this for adhesive allergies? For those of you that don't know how much regular stencil paper is that every tattoo artist uses at the moment, unless they do, you know, freehand, of course, for a box of 100, it is £52.79. And then there's this box as well, which you get 100 in, which is £29.99. So you're looking at anywhere between maybe £25 and, you know, maybe £60 for 100 stencil papers, depending on the brand you use and what have you. So for the Standstill transfer film, you're essentially paying double the amount of money for less, which is obviously a massive negative point, especially in this economy where, you know, the majority of tattoo artists are financially struggling at the moment because, you know, clients don't really have a lot of fun money for tattoos. Tattoos are a luxury item, therefore they are like bottom of the priority list for the majority of people. So that obviously means tattoo artists are not getting as many clients or not doing as many tattoos as they once were. So buying extra expensive tattoo film when you could just use stencil paper, like why would you? Like, it just doesn't seem all that important right now. And also with printers being the way that they are, how pissed would you be if you put a Standstill transfer film into your printer and then it chews it up? It's not a cheap inconvenience if a printer was to you know, chew up a Standstill film by any means. It would be kind of irritating and annoying. And yeah, the more I look into this product, the less benefits I am seeing with it. There's this one comment that I saw on a TikTok that says, can this be reapplied if you'd mess it up like a stencil? How can you use it again? With the price being $99, I'd like to be able to not waste a sheet if it just doesn't lay right first time. You can reposition the stencil as long as you didn't activate it with a disinfectant spray. So like, can you imagine, like obviously with the way this is made, laying a stencil is a lot easier because it's see-through, but could you imagine you lay it down, use the spray or what have you, and then you're like, actually no, that just does not look right. So like, what is the point? Like, what is the point of this, to be honest with you? It's basically a see-through stencil paper. That's literally all it is. And then you've got the added, you know, yikes of tattooing microplastic into your clients as well. And the fact that then you're probably going to wipe it all away if you use water. Like, what? Like, I just don't understand this at all. Because you still might fuck it up if you put the spray on and then you're like, actually no, that just isn't gonna work. Like, what? I don't get it. The only benefit I can see of this stencil film is the fact that it is flexible, and it would be very, very handy for placements like knees and elbows. Standstill do have some content on their social media of a back piece that was done using the Standstill film and how that tattoo has healed, and it doesn't look like a bad tattoo. I don't feel like the film has affected the quality of the tattoo by any means. I mean, this video is edited a little bit, I will say. Like, I can tell, as someone that does video editing, you know, all day, every day, I can tell that there has been some color grading done to this video to make the blacks look blacker, I guess to kind of hide the patchiness of the black work throughout the tattoo that is noticeable at the beginning of the video kind of thing. So that to me does feel a little bit disingenuous. But like, if you are someone that has a lot of black work tattoos, you know, for the most part, they do heal kind of patchy. It's just one of those things. Like, it's very, very hard for a tattoo artist to get solid black work, you know, solid. It needs maybe a couple of passes. This bit on my upper arm here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, my mic's in the way, but like this part of my tattoo, my blast over black work tattoo, does need a touch up because it's just healed a little bit patchy. That's just like completely normal. I don't know why they would want to hide that, because, you know, if you're a tattoo fanatic or a tattoo artist that specializes in black work, you know it's going to heal patchy. Nobody's going to think any less of your product because the tattoo that has been done with this film has healed a little bit patchy. It's just normal no matter what, right? I don't think the film affects the quality of how tattoos are done by any means, but there is still a lot of other red flags throughout this product. Looking through the content from Standstill's TikTok and reading through the comments, most people aren't too keen about this whole product by any means. There's a few fans for sure, but most people are kind of like, is there any need for this, you know? There's a few comments like this that say, a good and safe artist doesn't mind moving a stencil whatsoever. Tattoos are permanent, hell yeah, we can move the stencil, it's not that hard to take them off, which I want you all to know, okay? This is so right. A tattoo artist should never, ever mind moving a stencil, because at the end of the day, this is going to be on you for life. It's going to be permanent. So if they do have a problem with that, then to me, they're not a good tattoo artist, okay? They should want you to be happy with the placement. Or you just move the stencil because that's your literal job. Or you can find an artist that isn't trying to rush a permanent art piece on someone's body. A real tattoo artist will move a stencil as many times as it needs to be. Value your work over your time. Reminder that you can move the stencil as many times as you want. Don't settle just because you're worried about annoying your artist. If my artist doing my tattoo is annoyed because I want to move the stencil, I'm leaving so fast. Yeah, but stencils cost next to nothing. Standstill said, it's okay, some value their time and precision more. There is quite a few comments like this from Standstill kind of shitting on the way that tattoo artists normally do their work, and there's also content that's kind of like this, kind of mocking the whole using traditional stencil paper.
With traditional stencils, it's hard to see the exact placement. They smudge easily. Blurry lines and messiness. And removing stencil ink, mission impossible. Introducing Standstill, a brand new stencil method.
Which, okay, it's a funny marketing tactic and it's really not that deep, but it does kind of have undertones of, oh, you're a loser if you carry on using tattoo stencil paper. And then when I was looking through the comments, I saw this comment that says, I was all on board until I read a comment that this person seems to be supportive of AI art. How sad. And I was like, nah, there's no way. There is no way a tattoo artist of 15 plus years that is trying to, you know, start their tattoo related business and, you know, have the support of thousands of tattoo artists, should they want to buy it and use it and put it on social media. Like, there's just no way this person would be all for AI. Just no way, because that obviously shits on every artist ever, right? And then I found the comment. Of course I did. Why is everyone so mad? It's okay. People often don't like changes. Look at all the AI hate. So we have a tattoo artist of 15 years trying to break into the tattoo world with a tattoo business that's going to support AI that... We're not going to even go in to the problems of AI art, okay? Because I've been through it the past week or so. Talking about it on social media, and I'm just not going there again, okay? But I'm sure the majority of you are aware that AI art is just... It's not good. It's not good. It's so incredibly damaging to the creative world. And to be supportive of that as a tattoo artist in the art world... What? What? Are you for real right now? I just can't. Like, I'm out. Like, any positive thing that I have to say about this, about the fact that it could be helpful for, you know, bendy, flexible areas like knees and elbows, and it could be a learning curve, but some tattoo artists may find a benefit with it all, out the fucking window. I personally wouldn't want to support a brand or business that is okay with AI in the art industry, okay? The thing that is stealing artwork from thousands upon thousands of artists. There are so many artists out there that are now losing work because of AI, and you're going to stand by that and support it and be like, oh, look at the hate. Fuck off. Oh, no, absolutely not. Like, no, I'm out. I'm done. We're done here. Like, in case there is anyone out there that does want more information and context as to why AI art in any art industry is bad, I'll leave a link down below to this very informational video from an artist who kind of goes over like the problems with AI art and all of that. It's honestly very, very interesting. Again, like I said, there could be benefits to this, but the fact that they're not very open and honest about the problems with the PVA, yikes. The fact that they're not very clear on the fact that this could damage your tattoo machine, yikes. The fact that it's way more expensive than regular stencil paper, yikes, in this economy, like... Sure, okay, whatever. To me, it just seems like another gimmick. I feel like there's going to be so many tattoo artists that may buy this because they think, oh, this is going to help me, and then they're going to realise they've wasted their money because they haven't really looked into it too much, and then they find out that, you know, they're halfway through a tattoo, and then they'll start wiping it down with like a wet paper towel and it's disappearing. Could you imagine? I would be so pissed. I would be so incredibly pissed about that. Anyway, that is basically it for this video. I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on this. If you're a tattoo artist, how do you feel about this? Would you use this? And if you are a tattoo client, how would you feel about a tattoo artist using this on you? Would you be pissed at the fact that there is about to be a bunch of microplastic stabbed into your skin? And sure, maybe it is biodegradable and it won't go into your system too much, but still, does that thought ick you out a little bit? Please leave all your thoughts and opinions down below. I'm very excited to read the comments with all your thoughts. And yeah, that's it for today's video. I just want to say thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me. And until my next one, bye.